Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to do a apple on this next episode of Exploring Watercolor, and I'm going to try something a little different so that I don't accidentally do a time lapse over everything I'm talking about because I really don't want these videos to be too long for you guys. And so basically I'm going to try to explain things before I do any kind of watercolor on my subject here, so that if I do end up wanting to time lapse certain parts of it so that the video is not 40 minutes long or so, I do not leave out information, because sometimes when I get done with this and I make the video, I honestly do not feel like going back in and voicing over what I've already talked about. I usually do that on my colored pencil projects because those take hours and hours, and that's a lot of editing. It's just easier to time lapse those and then talk over the time lapse, add that onto the video, and then render it as that. So I did lay out on my colors. So we're going to use, we have orange. This is just Master's Fine Touch again. We literally just orange, the crimson red, lemon yellow, permanent green light, just because we're gonna have a little hint of green. Like, I probably will not add this to my color palette just in case I accidentally mix it. So we're just gonna save it off to the side so I don't forget about it. And then we have raw umber. This is gonna give some rustic look to the stick that I have, a little stem piece for our drawing, and of course white. So we will get started here. I'm going to get all of my colors on here. I'm going to do probably a quick time lapse, and then I'll meet you back here in just a few seconds. Okay, so I have all my colors out, and I have the brushes I'm going to try to use, and they are going to be the round number 10. This is the Master's Fine Touch watercolor set, I believe. So this is the round brush. Now, when you go hunting for paintbrushes, there was this tip I had received about how much flick or resistance that a paintbrush has. So if you're doing a little bit more of a loose drawing, you want to see how this like flicks back pretty fast. If you want kind of more of a loose drawing, or if you're doing like more of a Chinese watercolor, you're gonna want maybe a softer brush that's not going to just spring back into place. This is the best we're going to do because we're on a budget. And then I have smaller round brushes that we're going to try as well. So before we begin, I'm going to explain the technique I'm going to try to use. So we're going to try to actually do the wet on wet technique. Now, I have already wetted my whole paper. I have dried it, and it is securely in place with masking tape. So how I do that, I have my drawing already done, put my paper down, and I put the tape on, and then I wet the whole surface. You don't have to soak it, but however you feel comfortable. So I did enough that I could see a glimmer of wet, you know how it gleams in the light. And then I took a hairdryer to it, let it sit for a minute, took a hairdryer to it, so that it's ready, it's prepped for water, if that makes sense. You don't have to do that if you're doing more of a dry technique, but I just found that that helps prevent the paper from crinkling as much. So what I'm going to do, because I want to try the actual wet on wet, I'm going to wet the whole apple, except for the stem. We're going to leave the stem. And then I'm going to put in, kind of let it bloom a little bit, because I really want to try that and actually just kind of have fun with the colors and let it be a little bit more abstract. And then if we want, after that dries, we can go in and maybe kind of tweak it and get some of the actual 3D dimensions of it, so of the apple. So we're going to try that. So I'm going to start with, okay, so we're going to start with our big brush. It doesn't have to be dripping wet either, like you don't want it dripping wet. You can probably see my brush is wet, see the reflection off of it. And I'm going to start, I'm just going to come right up to the edge there, come around right to the, and again, if we accidentally kind of go out of lines, that's fine. We're just kind of having fun exploring different techniques. This apple, you can draw, just imagine an apple and draw it. There's not really any particular. I did look up an image just for color reference, but if you have an apples outside or whatever picture you want to use, just grab it and then just have fun with your apple. There's not really a specific picture that I used. Um, like you can use any picture. You don't have to use like the picture I'm using, but I will reference um, at least the color scheme that I am using for this apple. Okay, so now that we got that wet, I would like to use my other brush. I don't know if I have it wet enough for it to bloom, but that's okay. This is experimenting. We're figuring that out. So I would like to use, I'm gonna go from lightest to darkest. So I'm gonna get a wash of my white here. And there's this white, we're just gonna add that there. And there's also a back white. I'm gonna add that there. This is gonna be really important to get these down first, so that when we go back in, it kind of mixes really well. So now I'm going to do my red. It's kind of a pinky color, and that's fine with me. I don't mind. And I'm going to kind of go with how the structure of the apple, okay? Structure of the apple, and it comes down here. We're going to kind of avoid this white area that we put. You just have to kind of remember where you've put it. I don't think I added enough water to kind of do the bloom thing. I'm always afraid that it's going to crinkle. Like, the crinkling of the paper really bothers me. I'm making like a pink apple. This is not the red that I thought it was going to be. That's okay. We're just going to keep going. Come out here. Now, eventually, once we do get enough saturated water on here, we'll kind of have a little bit of blooms. Okay, rinse off that color. I'm going to add the orange. Now the orange is going to help kind of darken this up. Okay, so there's this really cool pattern here. And just kind of, again, just have fun with it. We're just making a fun apple. Avoiding kind of that white area that we put down so we can keep the gleam. And now as we go through and add our colors and the little splotches here and there. So, oh, okay, so see, that's what I'm saying. Like it bleeds itself per se. And that's what I want. I wanted to get a feel for it. Something that's relatively easy to do, but yet we can still have fun with it. I'm gonna have to grab a different red because that is not the red that I thought it was. And I kind of really want a like red and orangey yellow apple. So I'm gonna grab a different red. It was way too pink. Okay, we're gonna use this red, and I have not used it yet. It says brilliant red. Oh my, the little cap thing didn't come off. Hey, off screen doing, I had to take the little cap off. So I'm gonna do this brilliant red off to the side. Oh, that is red. Okay. Let's see. Now I do have pretty good amount of water on there. I don't want a lot. I don't want just the dry. Like I want my paintbrush to be full of it. Okay. So now we're gonna follow the. Oh yeah. Okay. So that's the red. Okay. But do you see how it's kind of bleeding and blending on its own? That's what I want. And then just follow the structure of your apple. Now, if you have more of a solid color apple, just pay attention to the grains of the apple, depending on the quality picture that you have. And it should help you out getting the 3D look. Now, as you get over here, there's the light source is coming in directly. I kind of point, it's like right through here, so it's like, coming in that way. So you have to kind of imagine this side's going to be lighter, right? So don't add so much color over here because we can go over and add detail later. But then this side's a little bit darker. This is where we get the rich colors. Okay. Add our yellow. This is going to be cool. Now, I'm going to kind of dry out my yellow a little bit because we have so much water in here. It should hopefully kind of do that. Oh, I think that's so cool. It's almost like a mustard yellow. That's okay. We're just going to keep going. Apples can be whatever color you want. You can do a black apple if you want, or poison apple, do a green apple. We're just having fun with it. And I'm trying to get better at talking while I do this too. Okay. Come down here with it. But see, now the color of our apple is really starting to come together, yeah. Now, to make this red a little bit more rich, we're going to add a little bit of burnt sienna in it. And it'll just make it a richer red, a little bit darker. Now you could do, if you want a cooler apple, you could add some purple. There's actually some purple in there, but I want a warm apple. So we're going to make it a warm apple. Now I'm going to add a purple background when it's all said and done here. But you can see how that really nice color comes through here. I'm going to kind of skip around this because I want that yellow to keep showing through. I guess I could have done a yellow base over there too. That's okay. Learn as we go. I planned the white out better though. So when we go back in, we can blend that out. Okay, so I'm going to add a yellow base here for the middle of our apple. I'm going to add that hint of green. Because apples usually start kind of a yellow greenish color depending on what type they are, and then as they ripen they change colors. Not quite an apple expert, but just let you know that's kind of generally how it works. I'm gonna mix this a little bit. So I have a little bit of a shadow as if like it's coming out of something, like the stem's coming out of the apple and not just hanging on top there. Yeah? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a little bit more. Now, it's looking really cute. I'm taking my brush. There's no color on it. And I'm going through. And I like to kind of blend this way. There are probably better ways to blend, but this is how I like to do it. So the only thing that makes sense to me, colored pencil artist here, just trying to have fun with another medium. Okay, now that some of this is dry, we're going to add more darkness to our colors here, more richness or more pigment. I'm going to come back up here, really darken this up along the side. Sorry if this video is going to be a little bit longer. I feel like I'm just getting better at talking through our videos. And just like really light. Sometimes if you feel like you're doing too much pressure, move your hand down the brush and then let the tip of the brush do the work. You don't have to draw every single detail. And this extreme hyper-realism is your goal. You're going to be sitting here for a much longer time, but that's up to you. You can see now how our colors are coming together. Taking my brush here, just kind of dabbing up some of the colors. Didn't want it so much right there. Like I still want those like streaks coming through. Doesn't have to be as bright though. And as we lose pigment on our brush, it helps us out on this side. I'm gonna take my yellow, rinse off my brush, take my yellow, I'm gonna actually take some white, make it a little bit brighter. And just gonna go in and kind of dab some areas because I like the little splotchiness of it all. Like all of a sudden there's just like a splotch of random color. And it should kind of bleed and make its own little splotchies. It's like the most annoying yellow I could have picked, but that's okay. I just grabbed a glob of white and just kind of glazing it over on the side here. I think it's kind of cool that the watercolor's kind of coming out of the seams here. Little backlight there. There's a shadow underneath of our apple. I have an orangey apple, that's okay. But you have to think now, we have structure, and I'm just impatient because I can't just like let things dry. We have structure of the apple. We have some character to the apple. We have some yellow showing through, yeah. And you know what? I think I'm gonna grab the violet out. I can't help it. I see violet. My brain is like, grab the violet. So I'm grabbing the violet. Oop, just a little dab. Just a little dab. Now I'm not gonna saturate my brush with I'm not gonna have a wet brush because like our paper's like pretty wet. So I dried off most of it, and now I just have some violet. I'm just gonna kind of dab it because we're going to go back in and blend it out. To remember to go with the path of your whatever grains you have of your apple. It's a little bit more depth. I would like a little bit more red, like a dark red. In some of our areas. This is where it's fun for me. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is I'm going around. I made this nice kind of a deep red. And we're just adding it, but we're also trying to keep the yellow, right? So I'm not just adding a splotch. So I'm kind of splotching around with this red that I have made. Okay, now that I feel like I have a pretty cool texture going on down here, and yes, my paper is crinkling, but if we leave it how it is, or I could take a hairdryer, it should technically flatten back out because it's not being able to expand or actually crinkle up all the way because I have the tape here. So it should flatten back out once we are done. Okay, so now I'm just going to try to add some more detail in to my liking. If you guys are mostly done with yours, go ahead and try to work on the stem a little bit maybe. I'll get to that here in just a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and continue the time lapse here. That's just a little bit of orange there. There is some orange like throughout this. I just need to stop touching it. My apple is perfect the way it is. Now, in this picture, there are like some like little white dots of I don't know if those are just like the pattern of the apple or what. But I'm not going to make it white. I'm going to actually add just a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to get it just on the tip. Now you could probably use a pen or something for this. But I just thought this was like a nice little touch. That there's these little... And they're all like different sizes. And you don't have to put a bunch of them on, but this just kind of... For some reason just is like, oh, this is like maybe a Honeycrisp apple or something. If anyone likes Honeycrisp apples. Look at our beautiful apple. Isn't it so pretty? Now, We're at the stop overworking it. Okay, so my paper is crinking in the middle. Like you can physically see it crinking in the middle, or it kind of makes it look like my apple has like a dent. Maybe like my perspective, at least when I'm seeing on the camera, to the to what it's like recording. So, but I think we're gonna leave that apple here. I really don't want to. Again, these aren't. I'm not looking for hyper realistic. We're just trying to try out some techniques. Though I think I'm still hesitant to do the blooming technique, like a lot of wet on wet, because I just don't think that's like my style. No, maybe if I was doing a flower, but I guess I'm just so used to colored pencil that this is still kind of taking me a while to kind of just be a little bit more loose in this sense. But I feel like we made some good progress today. You know, getting some detail, overlapping, planning, a highlight, things of that nature. Is it the perfect apple? No. Does it look exactly like the picture? No. Did I have fun doing it? Yes. Now I want to do a background and a. I think I'm going to do a purple background just because I like purple. Okay, so I stepped away for a second to dry this so that it dried flat. So we can see now that this doesn't look like it's caving in. It's still kind of a little bit, but at least it's not all crinkly. I'm gonna actually just let it sit here. I do like this purple, but I keep forgetting that watercolor is a pretty translucent medium. I mean, it can be, right? I used so much pigment to get this. I feel like I could have layered definitely things learned this time. But hey, look how cool our apple turned out. Look, we got the kind of, a little bit of texture. Still don't understand how to do these the highlights. I mean, obviously I see some spots that I missed, but that's okay. The progress I think is being made. So we're just going to keep going. Hopefully I will have another video next week, if not the week before or the week after. So there we go. Now it's done. Alright, well thanks guys for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Get out there, create something, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!